You, the new offensive coordinator for the University of Kentucky, Neal Brown. Neal, thank you very much for joining us.
No problem, guys. How's it going?
Going great. First of all, how exciting is it for you with your background here in the state to be coming home and taking over as the new offensive coordinator here in Lexington?
Well, it's an exciting time, no question about it. Fired up about being home, but I'm probably just as fired up about working for Mark Stoops, man. He's a great guy.
When did you know? How well did you know him before all this came about? Were you familiar with his style? And when he approached you about doing this, talk to me about your thought process in deciding to.
Well, we knew each other in passing, maybe, but we didn't have a relationship. But knew his brothers. We've been playing against his brother Bob the last 3 years here at Tech. Knew his track record. Knew that he was playing great defense the last couple of years at Florida State. So I was excited about that aspect. And then really got to know him over a 2-week period of time. And really what sealed me on the job was I had some other opportunities, and he was patient and gave me some time and kind of I bounced some ideas off of him. And it really made me feel comfortable knowing that, hey, I'm getting ready to go work for a guy that's been in my shoes and understands what a coordinator's going to have to do, and just the patience he showed me and the way he handled his business during those 2 weeks. I told my wife, I said, this is a home run. We're going to come home. Our family's there. It's a great place, University of Kentucky, and then to work for a great guy and he's going to put together a great staff. I said it was a home run.
It's interesting in your offensive staff with Scott and Schlarman, et cetera. It seems like guys that you have a connection to. Obviously, I'm sure he had to sign off on anything, but was part of it you wanted to bring some of these guys you were familiar with, you knew to kind of work with you on the offense?
Well, they were Coach Stoops' hires. I think he knows though that it's important to have people in the room with you that know the system, that know what you're looking for recruiting. Anytime you go into a new situation, there's a lot of teaching involved, and the coordinator can't do it all. And he needs some guys in the room that don't need direction every single hour of every day. And so that was more his thought process than mine. I'm very, very pleased that he hired John Schlarman and Chad Scott. I think it's huge because both of them have connections to the state. John played at Highlands. Obviously one of the top programs in the state. He came here, was an all-SEC player his senior year, and then he's done a great job at Troy when I was there, and then in the 3 years since, he's done a great job. And his father-in-law is one of the best players that ever played at UK. So I think all those things were exciting to Mark as well. And then Chad Scott, being a Central Florida guy that chose to come to Kentucky, and his wife being a former basketball player, I think all those things factored into Mark thinking those guys were the best people for the job.
All right, talk to me a little bit about this offense. People, I have to tell you, I've seen so much excitement. I mean, it was exciting when Stoops was hired, but now, especially when you come on board, people say the air raid is back. Actually, as we speak, we're selling air raid T-shirts on KSR. Is it back? And if so, is your offense any different than what we saw in the Mummy era? Talk to me about it.
Well, we plan on bringing it back. We finished second in the country last year. Team beat us on the last weekend to take away that number one ranking from us. But, we're going to throw the football. I think it gives us a chance to compete every week. We're going to throw it. We'll look different than when Coach Mummy was here. I think Coach Mummy did a great job of giving Kentucky a chance to win every single week. And you look at it, not only in our system, we've had great success at Troy and Texas Tech, but if you look at Oklahoma State, they finished second in the country last year. They're running his offense. Obviously Coach Leach did a great job with it. Tony Franklin's doing a great job with it. Had the number one offense in the country this year. I can go, Texas A&M won the Heisman Trophy running this offense. So I can go on and on about those things. It'll look different. The same base plays that I ran when I was a player and the fans saw when Coach Mummy was the head coach. Those base plays are the same. Now we're going to play at a much faster pace. We'll use more motions, more personnel groupings, more formations, and those type things than Coach Mummy did, but the base plays are still the same.
Talk to me about, you mentioned a faster pace. The one concern I heard a couple people mention with that offense and the defense is, does it put a lot of pressure on your defense because the offense may not be on the field as long, even if successful, scoring quicker, moving faster, and that if you don't have a real deep defense like Kentucky may not have yet, it could put a lot of pressure on that defense. Is that a concern at all, or do you think that's not a worry?
Well, here's what I think you got to look at. I don't think you look at time of possession. I think that's probably the most overrated stat in all of football is time of possession. What you have to look at is plays, and you want to make sure that you're not leaving your defense out on the field for a lot of plays. So we control the game. We want to control the game on offense, and our deal is we want to be positive on first down, which makes third down easier. Then you got to score touchdowns in the red zone, and the more you do that, the less plays the defense is going to play. Okay, and we're not going to play 100 miles per hour every single snap, but we want to give the presentation to the defense that we can. Okay, and what that does is it makes the defense simpler, and you see less pressures and all those type of things. But we're going to take care of our defense. I mean, there's no question. That's one of the main reasons why we got to run the football. We got to make sure we'll be a throw first team, but we're going to be good at running the football. You have to be in this conference to win.
Now, you, of course, been in the conference when you played here, and you know this program. I have to tell you, I've never seen in my years here more excitement. I mean, we're in basketball season right now, and everybody's talking football. There's such an excitement right now like I haven't seen. From a coaching point and from having played here and knowing this, does Kentucky now in 2012 have what it takes as a program to succeed in the SEC going forward?
I would ask you the question, why not? And that's what I would say is why not? We've got great fans. We're in a tremendous recruiting area here. And, that's the thing that I was telling Coach Stoops when we initially started talking. I mean, you're 6 hours from a lot of players.
Yeah,
you can go north, south, east, west, and you're around a lot of football players, and the university's committed. And my question would be, why not? I mean, I see absolutely no reason why we can't. I would not have taken this job if I didn't think we could compete at a high level.
I love that answer. That's a great answer. Let me ask you about the quarterbacks you have. How much do you know? 3 of them played some amount of time last year. All of them are going to be in the same class. What do you know about them, and what do you see at that position?
Well, I know a little bit. Not a great deal about them. I met with each of them on Monday. Great kids. All 3 of them doing well academically. I think all 3 of them have good personalities, have good leadership qualities about them. All 3 did some really, really, really good things in the games they played last year, and they also did some things that weren't so good. And they're all 3 young. We're going to have an open competition. And I'm telling them, and the offense as a whole, I mean, and really for a whole team, it's going to be the case. I know Coach Stoops believes this also, is you got a fresh start. So I want to be careful. I want to look at some of the video from last year, and I've looked at a little bit of the video from last year. But I'm doing that more just so I know what our recruiting needs are. I don't really want to put a whole lot of judgment on them because you got a new beginning. I've been in enough spots where you're coming in on the front end of a deal now where, guys are going to change. Guys that may have been in the doghouse, they've got a new start and those type of things. So I don't want to watch a whole lot of video because I want my impressions of these players to be what I see when I start seeing them work out when we get into spring practice.
You mentioned the recruiting areas. You guys just got a commitment from a junior college tight end. I guess we could talk about that because Stoops did yesterday. And in general, what is, from an offensive point of view, where do you consider your recruiting strengths in terms of areas? Are there particular areas you'll focus on? I know Mark has spent a lot of time talking about Ohio. Do you have areas like that you're going to sort of zero in on?
Well, I've spent a lot of time in Georgia and Alabama and Florida, and then the last 3 years in Texas. So I think those are probably where, outside of this state, are where a lot of my strengths are, a lot of my contacts. But I think what Coach Stoops will want me to do is really focus on the in-state area. We got to make sure that we're keeping the best players in the state of Kentucky playing in the state of Kentucky. And we're getting a little bit of a late start. The deal that's changed about recruiting is it's no longer a 6-month courtship or a 3-month courtship. It's an 18-month, 2-year, 2+ year, for the top players. So we're a little bit behind just from the relationships. Now we got a great product to sell, we just don't have the relationship, the time and the length of the relationship that some of the other schools do. But our first priority is going to be keeping the best players in the state of Kentucky here. And I've got a lot of relationships in the state. Obviously my entire family is from here in the state of Kentucky. My dad's a former coach. He's been involved in the Coaches Association. So I've got a lot of contacts, and that's going to probably be where most of my time's spent.
Well, I can tell you one person that can't be more excited is Larry Vaught, who has been singing your praises for years from afar. Before I let you go, I get asked this question more than any other since you've been hired. Can we bring back the sirens at the stadium, the air raid siren? Are you for bringing back those sirens that everybody used to love so much?
Yeah, that's funny because that was like at the basketball game. I went to the basketball game. We had some kids in town at the basketball game, and that was the most things I got at. That was the hottest topic was the air raid siren. And I'll tell you the same thing I told them on Saturday. People making those decisions are a lot higher up than me. I'm all for it, but that's going to be up to Mark and Mitch.
All right, but we got you on board. So you're pro air raid siren, correct?
I'm pro what the fans want.
There you go. I like that answer.
How about that?
I like that answer. Coach Brown, thank you very much. I'm excited to have you here. You're the first coach that's been here younger than me. So it's going to be a unique change. Good luck. There's such excitement around here. Congratulations, and we look forward to talking to you again.